Okay, so I am a fan of showing y'all different ways to do it. I recognize that one way I show you might not be the only way. Even after that, after a couple different ones, there might be more. So this is a different way to think about finding the percent of a number. This is how I do it. A lot of times the proportions are what students prefer, but this is kind of how I do it. So just gonna offer you, this is a different way. And it's totally fine. If you prefer one way over the other, that's fine. But for the purposes of this, let's practice doing it this way. Okay, so we're gonna say that I can find the percent of a number. I'm gonna get my colors for some color coding, our fave. So this is the one we were using before, that the part divided by the whole equals the percent divided by 100. But another way is to use this formula. So I want you to highlight this one, circle it, draw a star next to it. So this one lets us skip that cross multiplying step. And I'll show you what it looks like. So this one says, what number is 24% of 50? Well, here I see my percent sign, so that has to be the percent. Then of 50 tells me that's what it's out of, and that's going to be my whole. And then it says what number is, what is, we don't know. So I'm going to put a question mark there. Then into my formula, I'm going to plug in my numbers, my symbols that I just found. So we don't know the part, so I'm going to put a question mark there. Equals, my percent is 24, divided by 100, times the whole, which we found to be 50. So I am just replacing words with numbers I found. So now what I can do is I'm going to go one step at a time and do one thing. So I'm going to, if I can, I always start with doing my 24, my percent divided by 100. 24 divided by 100 is 0.24. And then we still have times 50. So if you see, what's nice about this method is that all the math that's happening is on this side right now. This isn't true for every single one, but for this one, it's on one side. So now all I gotta do is 0.24 times 50 is 12. And that's it. Now, the other ones are a little bit more complicated sometimes, but it's nice to be able to skip that cross multiplying step. All right, so next one, 30 is 30% of what number? Well, first, I see my percent is 30%. Then I see that it says of what? That means that we don't know what it's out of. So that's what my question mark is going to be. Then it says 30 is. So my part is 30. So then for our equation, we take the part we found to be 30 is equal to my percent, again 30, divided by 100 times, I don't know what the whole is, so a question mark there. I like to start by taking my percent divided by 100 is 0.3. going to leave everything else the same. Times our question mark. That's how I write my question marks. I know they kind of look like 2s. It's question mark. So I want the question mark to be by itself, so I need to get rid of this multiplying by 0.3. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So my calculator, 30 divided by 0.3 is 100. All right, so on this one, we're going to find out what the percent is. So what does it look like when I can't do the percent divided by 100 to start with? So it says, what percent, and I know we're looking for the percent because I don't see the percent symbol. And then to the right of it, it says of 150. So it's going to be out of 150. And it says 45 is. So to plug into my formula, I take the part, 45, is equal to my percent, the thing I don't know, divided by 100 times the whole, 150. So when I'm doing these, I always have a goal of getting numbers on one side and leaving the question mark on the other side. So if you want to write that, I'm going to get the numbers to one side. So I want to get rid of this 150 first because it's kind of on the outside, so it's easier to move. So right now it's doing multiplying, and so I'm going to move it by doing the opposite. So that'll cancel each other out. I have to keep these balanced. So 45 divided by 150 is 0.3. So then the other thing I need to do to get the question mark by itself is get rid of this dividing by 100. Well, the opposite of dividing by 100 is multiplying by 100. If I do it on this side, I gotta also do it on this side. And 0.3 times 100 is 30, and we were looking for a percent. So if they said that 45 students out of 150 students total participated in Spirit Day today, then that would mean that 30% of students participated. So let's generalize this a little bit. You can still go this way. I will still show you that way. But we can kind of break it down. So to find a part, you're going to change the percent to a decimal. And you're going to take whatever that decimal is and multiply it by the whole. Like right here, we changed the percent to a decimal, multiplied by the whole. If you're looking for the whole, what it's out of, you're again going to change the percent to a decimal, what we did right here, and then you divide the part by that number. And then if you're going to find a percent, this was kind of a lot of steps. But do you know what you can do? You can write that as a fraction, right? 45 out of 150. Change it to a decimal, change it to a percent. So write it as a fraction, change the fraction to a decimal, and then change that decimal to a percent, what we did a few days ago. Oh, I'm going to tear this apart. Give me a second. So I rewrote it up here, but again, this is just the same thing. So this says Sporting KC won 25% of their games. If they won 9 games, how many games did they play total? So we're going to underline our question of how many games did they play total? Well, total tells me that I'm looking for what it's out of. So I'm looking for the whole. I don't know. My percent is 25%. It's the one with the percent symbol. And then 9 is the portion of the games that they won. So I'm looking for the whole. So what I'm going to do is change the percent to a decimal. So I'm going to take my percent, 25%, divide by 100, which is 0.25. So we changed our percent to a decimal. Okay, then I'm going to take the part 9 and divide it by that decimal. So I wrote part divided by decimal. So I'm going to take the part 9 divided by the decimal we just found. Is 36. So they played 36 games total. Okay, this one says, in a group of 50 people, 10% of them, ooh, I see a percent, so I'm going to circle it. 10% of them, of the people, are wearing green shoes. How many people are wearing green shoes? So we're going to underline our question. It says, in the group, there's 50 people total. So that's the whole. And we know what percent of them. So that means I'm looking for the small portion, the part that are wearing green shoes, right? It doesn't say that everyone is wearing green shoes. So I'm looking for the part, so I'm going to follow these steps. So number 1, change the percent to a decimal. So I'm going to take my 10%, divide it by 100, is 0.1. Step 2, I'm going to multiply by the whole. So I'm going to take that decimal I found, 0.1, times the whole, which is 50. Is 5. So that means that 5 people are wearing green shoes. So it kind of showed you in 2 ways. So you can do it these ways. You can use this equation format, or you can use the proportion. All right, last one. This says that Kristen takes a test and gets 17.5 out of 25 points possible. We want to know, what percentage did Kristen get? So we're looking for the percent. That's the thing we don't know. So it says out of 25 points possible. That's going to be the whole, what it's out of, which means that 17.5 is the part. So step 1, we're going to write it as a fraction of the part over the whole and change it to a decimal. So the part is 17.5 out of possible 25. So to change that to a decimal, I'm going to do 17.5 divided by 25 is 0.7. And then I'm going to change that decimal to a percent. Okay, so my decimal that we just found was 0.7. I'm going to change it to a percent by multiplying by 100. Is 70%. So she got a 70% on her test.